Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on TrustTV, where we discuss issues around politics, policy, and governance. My name is Suleiman. Today we'll be looking at the issue of insecurity again, particularly the rising demand from many states across northern Nigeria to have state of emergency imposed on them. As you recall, 2 days ago, the governor of Sokoto State, Alhaji Aminu Tambuwal, was in Aso Rock to discuss with the President Muhammadu Buhari about imposing state of emergency in parts of Sokoto State that have security challenges. But this has been pushed into a petition of sort online and on social media. So far, that petition has reached more than 28,000 people and counting. But Sokoto State is not the only state with such a problem. There are states like Katsina, Niger, and maybe other places that are equally involved. So today we're looking at this issue, whether or not it's a good thing. What would state of emergency do? Would it solve the problem? To what extent will it help in solving the problem? Would the president agree? And if he agrees, how would it look like? Joining me to discuss these issues are people who, of course, know it all. I have with me Mr. Mike Ejiofor, who is former director of the Department of State Services, DSS. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. And joining me, my second guest, of course, is Maila Hamza Idris, the general editor, Daily Trust, as we call him, the editor of editors. You're much welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. But before we proceed, we'll take 1 minute and bring you a roundup of politics in the news today. Stay tuned.
The All Progressives Congress leaders in some north-central states have called on leaders of the party from the zone vying for the national chairmanship of the party to shelve their ambitions in order to keep the region's quest for the 2023 presidency alive. Rising from their meeting in Jos, the group said the North Central should not compromise the 2023 presidency for any other position because at this time the presidency is zoned to the region for the sake of equity and fairness. Senator Tanko Al-Makura from Nasarawa, Senator Sani Musa Mohammed from Niger, and George Akume from Benue State are among the leading contenders from the region who are in the race for the seats. The group's demand was presented by Saleh Madung Zazaga. Governor Godwin Obaseki of Edo State has said only the People's Democratic Party can rescue Nigeria from the current economic woes and place it on the path to sustainable development. Obaseki was speaking when he received members of the Atiku support group led by Chief Raymond Dokpasi, who were visiting him on a courtesy call. He said the PDP must come to the rescue and take over the reins of power and find solution to the country's problems. The Zamfara State House of Assembly has recalled Honorable Yusuf Ankar, representing Ankar constituency, and Ibrahim Bakura of Bakura constituency, who were accused of aiding and abetting banditry. According to the Director General, Press Affairs and Public Relations of the Assembly, Mustafa Kaura, the House considered and adopted the recommendations of the Ethics and Privileges Committee of the House that investigated the two members. The committee exonerates the two lawmakers of any wrongdoing and recommended immediate recall to their seats.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Daily Politics, and we're talking about state of emergency in parts of northwest Nigeria. And with me, of course, my distinguished guest. Mr. Mark, let's start with you and with the issue of the protests against insecurity in northern Nigeria. As someone with the experience of intelligence in the country to the highest level that it can reach, why is it that people don't feel safe to even express their grievances? We're in a democracy. In Kano State particularly, a few weeks ago when people started this North is Bleeding, started Secure the North protest, one of their leaders, Zainab Nasir, a young lady, she was taken for a friendly chat with the DSS, and then she came out and said no more protest and all that. Isn't that repressive of the Nigerian state?
Well, I don't think it's oppressive. Okay. The fact remains that law enforcement agents are out there to protect citizens or citizens' rights, if you put it that way. Because the primary purpose of government is welfare and security of the people. So, you know, protests are guaranteed rights of the people. And you can't stop people from protesting.
Okay.
But the problem we have in Nigeria is that when you see such protests not properly guided, it's hijacked by hoodlums. You remember what happened in NSAS. NSAS was a peaceful movement organized by people. They were very well organized.
Yes.
You see the way they were sitting in their places, carrying Nigerian flag, until they started burning every part of Lagos. And these were not the handwork of NSAS.
Okay.
That was not their aim. So I think basically what security agencies do is to guide and guard what people are doing. But inviting people, yes, we want to know your aims. People are free.
But do the DSS, do they ever have a friendly chat?
Why
with
not?
anyone?
Why not?
Because they may say friendly chat in the media, but it may not be friendly in practice. When
you see, this is a misconception.
Okay.
Because I was in the SSS.
Yes.
I started from the police to the NSO to the SSS for 35 years. And I can tell you, the friends I have today were made while I was in the service.
Okay.
And that's why I'm free to come out and talk. Nobody will come and say that I victimized him or I tortured him while in service.
Okay.
There are many ways you can. You see, the myth created around the SSS, well, to some extent, it's good because it puts some people on guard.
Okay.
You know, on way not to cross the red line. But I can tell you that the SSS, as I know it, they are one of the friendliest services. If you like, call it the elite service, as most people describe.
That's all right. Yes. That's all right. But Malamza, in your journalism career, which spans decades, you've had a few experiences with the DSS yourself. So if the DSS says friendly chat, and then the protest or the person comes out to say, okay, they are no longer in support of protest again, or the issue is no longer important, everybody can go home. What does that imply? What should we Nigerians make out of that?
Well, it is really a strong message.
Okay.
I have had cross-share
Yes.
with the DSS while reporting from Maiduguri, the epicenter of the Boko Haram. And even when I came back to Abuja about 7 years ago or thereabout. But first, you see, the issue of protest, especially in third world, is different from what obtains in other parts of the world. In Nigeria specifically, it is gathering momentum of recent because of the level of disenchantment among Nigerians. They are so tired, they are so frustrated, they are so angry that they feel the leadership is not even listening to them. Because before, you don't see people raising their voices against their leaders, even at the community level. But these days, you see youth, you see women, you know, the elderly, trying to take their fate in their hands by voicing out, by going to the streets. Now, the expectation is that security agencies, the SSS inclusive, should provide support, should guide the procession so that it will not be seized by hoodlums. Yes, yes. But a situation whereby you see people leading such protests being asked to go somewhere for an audience, and then when they come back,
Shelving
the whole idea, you know, honestly, it's not a friendly encounter.
Thank you. Yes. I think most Nigerians will agree with that. You know, because the person comes back and she wrote and said, my hand no day again.
I think I can throw light on that.
Yes, please.
You see,
Thank you.
it's not the responsibility of SS, point of correction, to start guiding protesters.
Okay.
The SSS is primarily charged with collection of intelligence. And it's not as if the SSS does not know before protests are organized. They have the information, they have the intelligence, and know the leaders. Possibly made overtures, which was turned down, and they go ahead to do this. And when the SSS invites you, of course, it's for you to see reason why you should not charge this course. Possibly during the explanation, you come out a better informed person on your approach. No, I'm not saying on your approach.
Yes.
You could have been done this way instead of this way. So you come out better informed. So that's what makes people recant. And if you are tortured or this, you should come out openly and say it. But
maybe part of the friendly chat is if you say anything that happened here.
No, definitely not. Okay. You are adults. You have a lawyer. You can brief your lawyer. This is what was your encounter, and the SSS is not going to go after you. I think it's important that people know the real functions and responsibility of the SSS. It's the most friendly, and they grant all courtesies. If you are with the SSS, I can tell you, or you can tell us your experience. Were you beaten?
I wasn't beaten, but you see,
yes,
sometimes it's better for you to be beaten.
Okay.
Yes, you see, a situation whereby you had an interaction, and then the interrogators in court telling you so many things about you. About the your wife,
yes, that they have collected.
About your life,
yes,
about the places you visited, about where you slept last night,
about who you know,
about the phone number you didn't use for the past 5 years.
Yes,
I think you
feel threatened.
Exactly.
No.
I think it's a psychological trauma.
Yes,
that you are subjected to, because in one of my encounters with them, you know, after asking fill a form, you know, I filled the form.
Yes.
We interacted. Then somebody said, but Hamza, where is that your order phone number? You didn't put it.
Yes.
Yes. And I knew that phone number, I've not been using it to make calls.
For a long time.
Yes. If you see me using it, it's just for, you know, maybe emergency.
Why do you have to keep that phone?
No, it is there. I use it for data.
Yes.
You understand? But I was asked why I didn't put it. I said, what? Then, for quite some time, you didn't visit so place. I don't want to mention it. Wow. And then, but why did you say you are from so place, whereas we know you are from? So when I came back, you can imagine the trauma. I said, so meaning that even if you are going to the office, somebody is watching you. If you enter the toilet, somebody is watching you. So it's better for you to be beaten, because you know that if you meet, you know, a contender and then he beats you, then.
But you remember what I told you?
Yeah.
You come out better informed.
Yes. But then this.
But it suppresses. It suppresses your
urge you have to protest,
to do illegal things.
No, it's not about illegality.
No, but then this raises a very big question that is trying us clear in the face.
Yes.
Mr. Mike, I prefer to call you director.
You
know? Because once a director of the SSS,
always a director
of the SSS.
I prefer being addressed as Mike.
Thank you. That's all right. Yeah. So the question that the important issue that Madam has raised now is, if the SS has this capacity to collect this much intelligence about the people that it invites, why is it not using this information to reduce crime and criminality in the country? That's the question that stares us in the
very
face.
good question.
Yes.
Very good question. You see, behind the scene, before we got into the studio here, you remember what I told you?
Okay.
If you know what the SSS does to prevent criminality in the society, you marvel. And if they come out to tell you, you will not even come out of the street. If you know what you are prevented from every day, you'll be scared to come out of it. Recall 2-3 days ago, the SSS sent an alarm of the security situation in the country. It is an intelligence agency, not an enforcement agency.
Okay.
But
So how can Nigerians understand the difference between the two? Because it's
the
key.
difference is that police is enforcement.
Okay.
You feed intelligence to this is going to happen, is going to happen. It is now left for the police to take action. And don't forget also that police is not the only consumers of intelligence. The president, the National Assembly, the principal officers of the National Assembly, the executive, the judiciary, they are all consumers of intelligence at their various levels. So if you bring an intelligence to and it's not acted upon, who are you going to hold responsible? And I made bold to say that some of these issues are political motivated.
Okay.
And again, the political will on part of government to execute such intelligence, SSS should not be held responsible for inaction if when it's established that the information has been given. Just like I was saying 2 days ago, the SSS alerted the nation on the security of the nation that legislators will be attacked, the school children will be recruited among Boko Haram and among others. Only same day, a legislator was killed in Kaduna. So the SSS is not omnipresent, but they have indicators. What we have threat analysis that you can project. These are likely things to happen. Predict these are likely things to happen, and to alert members of the public, not only members of the public, the security agencies on what to do, because security management is a collective
Effort.
of all the people, all the citizens. What roles are we playing as citizens to assist the various security agencies? We have roles to play. There's no way government can do everything for you in providing security. And I also tell people...
Thank you. So let me bring my lambs into the discussion. Also, to go back to the protest, there are those who are saying that, okay, it's easy because it is us here in the north, they're taking us for granted. We cannot protest, whereas some people in Lagos can protest for weeks because of police brutality. Here in this part of the country, people are going through insecurity of the worst kind, on a daily basis, and just to go out to protest. And the president personally made statements of that kind a few months ago, I think, when people tried to protest in Katsina, and he said that they are lucky that they are in a democracy or something like that. So is there a discrepancy in understanding of protest or of rights between citizens of Nigeria? Some people can protest and others cannot.
Obviously, the first point you raised,
Yes.
It was a legitimate observation by people from this part of the country that it's like we are prosecuting two laws. Yes, and that is why people are even asking, what is there in being a president, or what is there in having a president from your home when the basics of democracy, you don't have them, the ability or the capacity or the freedom to express your anger,
Yes.
to voice out your frustration, is being hampered by the instrument of state. Yes. So what I'm trying to say is, instead of warning people to shelve the idea of protesting, which is the only option they have, because they can't take arms and confront those people who are tormenting them. They don't have that capacity. The state should provide them with cover. As you rightly said, sir, you provide information, The ideal thing is for sister agencies, let's say the police, the civil defense, and all that now, to now give cover for people so that they will not allow miscreants to seize the protest. But you can see in Lagos, look at what happened now. The NSAS protesters, they dared Sanwo-Olu, who backed out of the whole thing. He was the one, because they said he wanted to organize what he called peace rally in the aftermath of the release of the panel report on the NSAS and police brutality.
Yes.
But what did they say? That we are going to match him word by word. Meaning that the day that he will stage the peace rally, they are also coming out to the street. What happened? He shelled his own. He gave an excuse that, okay, it is because of Omicron. But any curious looker knows that he shelled that because he knows that the NSAS protesters in Lagos, they would not back out. But you will rarely see this happening in this part of the country because they know if they come out, they will be killed here. Even though they will not be killed in the south, they will be killed here. If they try to do that.
Are you saying that the security agencies, they value Nigerians differently?
Probably the director will give that explanation.
Okay.
But I know that if it happened, if, for instance, Kaduna State Governor or Kano State Governor or Sokoto State Governor said he's going to stage a peace rally, the instrument of state will support him to do it. And whoever dares him, he will
Which
pay
may
the
not be
price.
successful if it were in the south.
I think I can explain that.
Yes, please.
You know, the political gauge of this country is measured in the southwest.
Okay.
They are politically active and conscious more than any other part of this country. You know, I hope you don't mind.
No, go ahead,
my language.
please.
You know,
It's a
level
politics
of
program.
sensitivity, the level of sensitivity and consciousness, political consciousness in the north is low.
Okay.
Then you go to the southeast, they are not interested in politics, they are interested in their commerce. That's why every geopolitical zone is talking about being president. The southwest is saying they will be, after being president and vice president.
They want to be president.
They want to be president. The north is also agitating seriously and very strongly too. For how many people have come out from the southeast? Even though it is legitimately their right now, because Nigeria stands on a tripod of, wrongly or rightly too, of Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba. Well, how do you account for other tribes? When we have over 450 ethnic groups. So, the Southwest determines the political future of this country. You remember what happened when the then Goodluck Jonathan government wanted to increase the price of fuel.
Yes.
What did they call it in Lagos?
Occupy Nigeria.
Occupy Nigeria. They occupied Nigeria. Now we are talking of increasing. How many times have we increased? Has anybody occupied Nigeria?
No.
Because they don't have the support of the Southwest. But once it starts from the Southwest, be sure that it's going to go up. And don't also forget that the commercial nerve center of Nigeria is in the Southwest.
It's in Lagos.
We will get all our imports. And so when those areas are grounded, the economy is grounded. Just like Southwest is as strategic to Nigeria as South-South. In the Southeast, they are into their commerce. They are Republicans. Everybody go struggle for yourself and be what you want to be. So that explains it. It's not that they're operating two laws. They are ready to, don't forget Fela's song, Who Wants to Die? The Southwest, they are ready to sacrifice their life for all this. But in the North here, the political activity and consciousness is not just there. Or they know how to control power.
I think it is there. The political consciousness is really there.
In the North, I was going to ask that.
Yes, what I think it is about the issue of suppression. Yes, they are being suppressed by their leaders. They are being suppressed by the traditional rulers. They are being suppressed by district.
Because they are not conscious.
No, they are. They are just law-abided. You can imagine somebody coming out of his house, then the village head telling him not to go to the village market. He will not go because he feels that that village head will speak out on his behalf. And there is reason why he said he should not go to the village market, even though he has family to feed. Yes, but you can see the trajectory is changing now. And that is why women, it's not like the North now. Women coming out,
are the ones
leading.
even leading these protests.
Why are they doing that?
Yes.
They are so frustrated. Their husbands have been killed because there is no family in the North now that has not been affected by this wanton killing. If somebody's father has not been killed, his mother has been killed or raped, or his son has been abducted and conscripted to become a bandit or a terrorist. So it is so frustrating that people now want to take the law into their hands, because I see this happening very soon, unless the government change its approach in suppressing the movements. So we are really in a dire situation whereby those in authority must have to change.
Thank you. I can see even you are nodding to
Yes.
many of the things that he is saying. What is the state doing with the security or with the intelligence around issues of wider security, such as he is mentioning, the factors that actually lead to these situations in the first place, the feeling of abandonment that people have had for a long time, the rising levels of, Sokoto, even if you look at statistical data about poverty in Nigeria, poverty is about 95% in Sokoto, 87% in Zafara, 89% in Katsina. You are going to have one form of reaction or another, and that intelligence will have been available to the state earlier than that.
Yeah, just like excuse me, like you rightly said,
Sorry.
the level of consciousness. I'm not saying that there's no consciousness in the North, but the level compared to what you have in the Southwest
That's all right.
is quite different. But the consciousness is coming up. The institutions, the traditional institutions, who cares about traditional institutions in Southeast or Southwest? Is traditional institutions going to, it's feudal system where people, the traditional rulers will lord it over you. No traditional ruler is going to put food on my table. So what is happening now is that people are revolting because of their consciousness to say, we can speak for ourselves.
Yes.
You can see the women coming out openly.
Look at what happened. Look
Look at what happened in the National Assembly, this gender equity bill that's been killed. Some people are coming out to say that women should not. The time for that is past.
Yes.
We are getting more conscious, and I pray that government takes decisive action to prevent this thing. We should never have this issue of another NSAS. Is going to bring disaster to this country. If we have another protest of NSAS proportion. Because the people are not also sitting. They have gone back to the drawing board to come up with other strategies and other plans. Civil society organizations and what is responsible for all this? Our leaders are not accountable to the people because they did not emerge from credible process. So if you are a leader, you are a president, you are a governor, you are a local government chairman, and you come, serve your term out, and you didn't do well, people will not vote for you. But because our votes don't count, you shoot yourself to power and say, go to court. And the court too is not helping matters. You go to court, you see
because
some
people cannot
or
get justice.
turning judge. You're getting all kinds of judgment. Before I came here, I saw some judges were suspended, some giving some this is because of conflicting orders.
Judgments.
conflicting orders, political on political issues.
Yes.
You know, so we need to be very careful. I, for one, I am very passionate about this country. This country has given me so much, and I need to give back to the country. I'm not talking about myself. We are talking about generations coming behind us. What legacy are we leaving for them?
Thank you. So at this point, maybe it's right for us to take a short break. When we come back, we look at what to do about it. All the situations, you know, particularly in northern Nigeria, and specifically whether a state of emergency, you know, is a solution, and how would such a solution look like. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, viewers, for staying with us. You can also follow us on all our social media channels, on Facebook, on YouTube, and of course on Instagram. We'll be taking a break for a minute. When we return, Daily Politics continues. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is Daily Politics on TrustTV. Mr. Mike, before we went on break, you were speaking about the levels of consciousness. You know, although people are feeling many different things. Malamza, this whole idea of going to the presidency and saying that, okay, declare a state of emergency on areas where there are bandits or where there is banditry. How much of a solution to the problem would that bring?
I see that as archaic.
Okay.
Yes, based on experience. I was in Maiduguri covering the Boko Haram for the Daily Trust when the state of emergency was declared in the states there, involving, you know, Yobe, Borno, and Adamawa, right? This was in 2013, I think. Number one, communications were cut up. Number two, the airport was shut down. In fact, President Goodluck Jonathan wanted to even remove then Governor Kashim Shettima, but for the court judgment and for the intervention of the National Assembly, that state of emergency does not mean removing democratically elected government.
As happened under Obasanjo with,
yes,
with the Plateau State governor.
So if you want to solve a sophisticated problem using a crude method, the result will be zero. That time, you should use communication, in fact, to track the criminals. But the communication was cut up at a time when the relevant security agencies do not have the wherewithal, maybe even the walkie-talkie, you know, because they had limited access to communication themselves. And you know, communication is the oxygen that terrorists and other sundry criminals, you know, cash on to unleash terror. It didn't work. I was there. In fact, we, the press, we suffered because it was so difficult for us to even send our stories. This is one. And then secondly, when you say state of emergency, it's just a nomenclature. It's in name. You can declare state of emergency in your house. But if you don't have the strong template, if you don't have the roadmap to prosecute the state of emergency, you will achieve nothing. From 2016 or 2015 to this moment, we have declared state of emergency on education, on agriculture, on health, and on what. We didn't achieve anything. This is two. Now, the third issue in respect to state of emergency is, let me give you a background. Do you know how many local governments do we have in Nigeria? 776 or 74, right?
Yes.
What of electoral wards? They are in thousands.
In thousands, yes.
But there is no single ward, there is no single electoral ward that you don't have security personnel. He's here, he's a director, he can attest to what I'm saying. If you don't have a prison warder, you have a police, or a civil defense, or an immigration, or a custom official, or DSS, or NIA. You have this in all the electoral wards that we have in Nigeria. But what is the missing link? Synergy.
Between them.
Between them.
Okay.
Because if there is synergy, I can assure you that no crime will be committed and will not be unraveled in an hour in Nigeria, because we have the capacity. I'm still asking, and I'm still doubting, and I'm still challenging people to prove to me that we don't have the capacity.
Interesting.
When you talk about numbers, we have passed that. All over the world, you are not talking about numerical strength. You are talking about technology.
Yes.
So while, of course, it's good, you recruit people who should gather information, you recruit people so that you have boots on the ground.
On the ground.
But the most important thing is to use technology. Because what an excellent technology will do for you in 10 minutes, 100 security operatives from all the arms that we have will not do it for you in 24 hours.
Thank you.
I don't know whether I'm wrong.
Thank you, sir. That brings us to key questions of what would be the role of, because the whole essence of declaring state of emergency is to enable the security agencies to better do their job, to bring the situation under control. So what can the security agencies do in a state of emergency differently from what they are doing now?
I think the question should have been whether I'm in support of state of emergency.
Okay.
Before,
please.
That's all right. What the security agencies could do. First of all, what is state of emergency?
Okay.
We should be able to understand what state of emergency. Like you said, state of emergency has been declared in education. For me, state of emergency does not mean dismantling the democratic structures.
Okay.
State of emergency to me is prioritizing security in terms of funding and equipment.
Okay.
That's the way I understand it, simply put. So if we want to declare state of emergency in our security subsector, there's nothing wrong with it. But when you don't prioritize or you take the wrong steps.
But already isn't security prioritized in budgets? For example,
no, I'll give you an example.
The highest
no, I'll give you an example. Forget about the budget.
Okay.
Now, you are fighting insurgency. You are ordering Tucanos. What has Tucano done since they were brought? You should invest more in intelligence and technology. These bandits move in hundreds, bikes and all this thing. And people argue that if you go and bomb them, you have collateral damage. Why not bomb them on the point of living where they're coming from before you allow them to take people hostages and there you go. So we need to invest more in drones to monitor the area, know when they are leaving. Not when you finish, you have abducted 100, 200 people. They say they are looking for them, then you are negotiating with them. They say, no, we should not go there because if you do, you have collateral damage, you are going to kill innocent people. How about when they start leaving? So if you are declaring state of emergency, we should also be in position to say, yes, this is what and what we need. Tucano aircraft, fine. Since the introduction into this war, what have they achieved?
I think Mr. Mike has brought in an interesting dimension of state of emergency.
Yeah, so we should invest more in human development and information gathering and technology. The reason is security is a collective responsibility of all. People are scared, especially in the north, giving information. You know, in Niger State, for instance, they say the bandits have even imposed taxes on the farmers for them to harvest their.
Yes, many states actually.
Many states. So how are you going to allow these things to continue to happen? It weighs people's confidence in government. So we should prioritize, get a state of emergency, yes, that is prioritize our approaches to fund security. Why I continue to say, people say, well, the budget of security is highest of all. If illiteracy is expensive, if literacy is expensive, why don't you try literacy? Without security, there won't be peace, there won't be development. So we must get our security right before we move any further. I'll give another solution. It's long overdue. I've been saying it, but I think government is buying into it. I've been shouting this since 2013, that we should establish state police.
Okay. We will come to that just in a moment. Malamza, he's raised an interesting dimension of state of emergency. Under Obasanjo, we had a state of emergency that simply meant remove the governor, Joshua Dare at the time, impose the sole administrator, nothing changed. You know, things continued as normal. So it was more a political kind of thing, you know, rather than to solve an urgent problem at the time. Under President Jonathan, as you mentioned, you know, security were cut off, communications were cut off, you know, which ended up giving more oxygen, doing more damage to the local communities than here. But he is saying that, okay, state of emergency is just a matter of perspective. It just means that you are now giving higher priority to security issues, you know, in a particular area than before. I think this is a kind of state of emergency that people will welcome in Sokoto as well as in Katsina, in Niger and so on, because it will mean that in the list of things for everyone involved to do, the security becomes primary, number one, which generally it should be without even emergency. So if we have security, state of emergency in that sense, what will be the role of the local communities? Because this is one of the major weaknesses of the Northeast state of emergency at the time. It was imposed by the federal government without, you know, carrying the locals along, you know. But in this one, it is coming, the demand for it is even coming from the local people. So how would that change things, and what would their roles be? You know?
This is an interesting question.
Thank you.
But before I answer the question you ask, I want to make reference to the point he raised in terms of funding the security agencies in terms of gathering information. As far as I'm concerned, there is even intelligence overflow. Yes, what do I mean? I'm a reporter, I'm an editor, and before then I was a correspondent who was on ground. You know, I keep making reference to what happened in the Northeast.
Intelligence can come from the media.
Yes,
of course.
But do you know something? That time, there was information or intelligence overflow.
Interesting.
As he rightly said, I'm telling you, if there are 5 or 10 incidences, you realize that there is a signal from the maybe SSS or DSS or even from the police or the army, because they all have intelligence units. But what do we do with such information? We keep them in the drawers.
So it's a question of action.
Using them.
Taking action, yes.
Do you know that it got to the extent whereby some of these security agencies, they had so much confidence in some of us that they share the intelligence with us so that we can write this story, because they believe it is only the media that will force those that matter to act. This has happened severally. I have cultivated so many sources because we don't compromise them. We realize that we are partners in progress. So they will give us the intel, and then we will write the story, we contextualize it, and then you see those who are supposed to act doing the right thing. And then actionable intelligence, right? Then nothing will happen. Now, the question you ask,
Yes.
it has also happened before, but the communities had to back out because they were sold off.
Okay.
In Borno, for instance, more than 24 district heads were killed simply because they were giving their own side of support towards bringing peace. They were also killed in Yobe. Now look at how they are being killed in Imo. They have been killed in Niger. They have been killed in Zamfara. They have been killed in Sokoto. It's a systemic problem that requires what? Political will.
Interesting.
Communities are willing to provide intelligence. Communities are willing to sacrifice their lives for the next generation. But they are being frustrated. Sometimes a community leader will give an intel to some of the security agencies. And what happened? Some unpatriotic members among them will now leak that intel
To the enemy.
to the enemy. And then the enemy, you see him descending on not only the community leader, but his family or the whole village will be sacked. So I think what we require is a systemic approach, the political will, and then the wherewithal in terms of deploying resources. Because sometimes government will say we have budgeted 1 trillion naira for defense, but what did you do with that money? You know, most of it will not go to the right hardware that is required to gather intelligence, as we said, and then to also kit the boots that will be on ground.
On ground.
Yes, so that they can go and do prosecute the security challenge. So it's a serious problem, but the overall solution to it, as far as I'm concerned, is the political will to end the crisis, because some people are really feeding fat on the misfortune of the larger population.
This raises questions of accountability, of corruption within the security architecture of the country as a whole. There are ideas that since 2009, Nigeria has spent about 40-something billion US on that's about more than, it's almost too
Scandalous,
much.
yeah.
Scandalous,
And these were resources that were made public. Because,
yes.
You see, in fact, do you know that
Yes.
what government spent at the state and at the national level in the name of security vote, which is not being
Accounted
declared,
for,
which
yes.
is not being, is thrice or 4 times what is
is
budgeted.
even declared.
Yes.
So where does all that
I
take
don't
us?
you want to drag me into a different topic completely, which is corruption, which is pervading in the country.
It has an influence on security situation
it
in
does.
the country.
Like you said, I hope this are rounded up. Like
What
you
is
said,
about?
like you said, I was a director in 8 states in this country.
8 states.
Yes.
That's a lot.
And you know what I do? Just to support what you said. The first person I go to visit is the president or chairman of the NUJ in that state. We in the intelligence, the only difference between a journalist on the street, like Media Trust, and the SSS is consumers.
Yes.
The SSS writes for government to assist them in formulation of policy and action. The journalist on the street writes to
For the
inform,
general audience.
inform the members of public what is going
Interesting.
on.
Interesting.
And while I was in service, I had this collaboration right from time immemorial. I had this interaction with journalists. I give them scoops, headlines, which are of no use to me. And there are stories they cannot publish.
Yes. which they then
they will give to me.
Interesting.
So it becomes an exchange of information.
Interesting.
You know, he said it that they used to give it because through them the public will get to know. Now, on the issue of corruption,
Yes.
what is our National Assembly doing in terms of oversight? They expect you to pad your budget and they share the money.
Oh my God.
You know, and that is how it will be going. By the time they are doing purchases, they go for inferior materials, drones that cannot fly up to even
The
better
ones that
drones
will
than
not
this.
do the job.
They will not do the job. Now, if I say I'm just without being immodest, you give somebody a contract of let's just be moderate, of 200 million. 200 million naira. You're not funding it. The person will use his house as collateral or go to the bank to collect loan. And by the time you collect, you are not even sure of when to be paid your money when you finish execution. Interest is mounting. The directors and all the people in the offices are asking for their own share of the money. So at the end of the year, you end up not using the money.
So the only solution
But
is
I tell you, in the military and the SSS specifically where I work, the SSS cannot award you a contract when the money is not there.
You see?
And when they are giving you a job, they give you a very good, up to 50% of the contract sum. So that you'll be monitored. You achieve 25%, you say, yes, certified that you have achieved 25%. You go to 50%. It's certified that you have gone to 50%. Then you ask for another percentage to assist you. So when you do all this issue of corruption will lessen and we will have money to fight this scourge we are calling insecurity.
yes.
And again, you bring people who who have no idea of security. You award them contract because they are your brothers and your sisters. They don't know what to do. Some of them don't even know that there's what is called end users license or certificate
For
that
the
will accompany the
equipment.
military wear.
Yes.
You go there and come and they say customs has seized it because it doesn't. If you are conversant with all these things, you should have known the procedures. Now, the issue of corruption again in Nigeria is endemic. And government is not fighting corruption the way it's supposed to be fought.
I think we will have to have a whole new program on that. But the way it relates to insecurity, which you have highlighted, is quite interesting. And we're just about the final lap. Usually, I start in one place and end in one place. So today I started with you. I'll be ending with the editor. So now the governor of Sokoto State, he went all the way to Asorok to complain that they want a state of emergency. What will be the role of the governor within that system? He did not say, or at least we are not aware. But there are different layers of leadership, not just presidential. You have the governors too. You have the traditional rulers, you have the community leaders. But specifically, what about the governance structures within the states specifically? The governor and the state house of assemblies. What role can they do as the immediate people closest, set of leaders closest to the people within their communities? What roles can they play, either jointly or individually, in bringing about all of this, including, dialogue and any other things? Yes.
Yeah, there should be synergy between the three arms or the three tiers or whatever we call it there. That is the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. This is one, because if they are not on the same page, federal government will only give a helping hand. Because wherever you have problem, the solution lies there. The solution lies in the community where you have the problem. Whatever comes from outside is actually supplementary. Yes, meaning there is the need to use local intelligence, the community leaders, with an assurance that they will be protected.
Okay.
But above all, declaring state of emergency in a section of Sokoto State will take us to square one. Because what we are witnessing in Sokoto
bandits,
now is because
the
there was
bandits ran away from
concentration
Zamfara.
from Zamfara, from Katsina, because they were allowed a corridor, so they penetrated
Into Sokoto.
into Sokoto. So
Interesting.
now, if you didn't do a booby trap for all of them, because it's a guerrilla war. These guys, they are in the bushes, they are in the forested
What about
areas.
this idea that you can have a joint a civilian task force, such as civilian JTF co?
That is-
in the northwest, such as you had.
That is where I'm heading to.
Okay, please.
When I said that they just any solution to any problem lies in where you have the problem.
where the problem is.
Yes, I know that in Maiduguri when we were there at the onset of the Boko Haram, 2009, then there was relapse. 2010 it came up. Now troops were deployed massively, including Navy, just to tell you the level of deployment. But they were unable to contain the situation until when the civilian JTF came up, because they were embedded in the community. The Boko Haram insurgents were part and parcel of the community. They knew them. So now the military, the DSS, the NIA, all of them, because even NIA had played key role because Borno shared, border
with
exactly.
with Chad and all
Good.
that.
Now they brought the civilian population massively, and before you know it, the terrorists were pushed to the outskirts.
So are you recommending the JTF?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Of the
But
type
they should
that-
not cut off communication.
Okay.
They should not cut off communication.
Thank you very much. So, a recommendation for civilian joint task force, such as we had in the Northeast, is where we end to help fight banditry and terrorism in the Northwest. This is where we draw a curtain for today's program. Gentlemen, I would like to thank you once again for coming on the show, and we hope to have you again one other time, some other day. Thank you to viewers for staying with us for this program. We hope that you join us tomorrow when we bring you another edition of Daily Politics. Enjoy the rest of your day. I am Suleiman. Bye-bye.